Hello and welcome back to For Book's Sake. I'm Heather Roberts.
And I am Veronica Adams. Together we are 1852 Media.
We are. And today we are going to be talking about all of the buzz in the land, which is discussing one of the topics being, is Booktok making the publishing world into fast fashion? Is it now the Shein of publishing?
Yes. Is it? Is it?
I've seen a lot of people's comments on this. There was an article, I think it was in Business Insider,
Yes,
that was talking about how the release from Red Tower Books, which is an imprint of Entangled, I think that's important to note. So, they are the publisher of Rebecca Yarros's, runaway hit, The Fourth Wing,
right.
and follow-up Iron Flame, that they are essentially, falling into that. They are the Shein of the publishing world. I laugh when I say this, but because of that whole, the main crux was because of the whole, special edition that they put out of The Fourth Wing, and then all the misprints and
the buzz building and the marketing of these special editions and the selling books to consumers that they've already bought just with different covers or different formatting.
Yeah. And then how it was executed not super well, that there were some issues with the execution. We'll put it there. I mean, my copy is fine. It has a small misprint in the copyright, but other than that, it's fine.
I own the audiobooks only personally, so
yeah,
I couldn't speak to print quality in any way, shape, or form.
But there were certainly many misprints. We saw that happen. So, and it looks like they were printed at two different printers and all of that. So, so the thesis, I guess, of that particular article was that Booktok was pushing publishers to become fast fashion. And
I have so many thoughts.
I know. Well, there's a lot to unpack here. Yeah, take a drink, because there's a lot to unpack here. Yeah. I mean, first of all, I don't necessarily subscribe to this theory, by the way. I don't. People have been trying.
I'll take it a step further, Heather. I think this particular journalist, this reporter, is completely out of touch with indie publishing in the way that a lot of romance specifically and romantasy gets produced. Just completely out of touch.
Totally. I mean, if they were limiting it to traditional publishers only, and we're talking about it in that regard, maybe, and that's, you hear the question mark there, right? Because come on, publishing, number one, is a very hard industry to make money in.
For sure.
Regardless of what you see on TikTok, it is a very hard industry to make money. So if there is a way to capitalize on an audience and give them something extra or special and give them what they're craving, people are going to do it.
Sure.
100%. And what's wrong with that? I mean, we can discuss the execution of it, sure. Maybe it was done messily if we're talking about
this particular example.
This
is the only situation where something like this has happened.
Right.
And these tools that the article, I think, was perhaps calling into question or even degrading, they're not new. Like, not in any way, shape, or form. Authors and publishers alike have been doing this as part of their marketing strategy for a considerable amount of time.
Yeah, it is not Booktok, my friends. That is not what is. Booktok is only the newest iteration of the fandom pushing.
Right.
It is not what is pushing, publishers or indie authors to make these special editions and things like that. They're just responding to what the market wants, which happens to be currently on Booktok. Before that, it existed on Facebook.
Yeah.
Before that, it existed on blogs.
Yep. Oh, the blogosphere.
Yeah. So, I mean, to blame Booktok in particular is ridiculous. I mean, I think that was just a clickbait.
Yeah. The whole tone of the article had spurned reader on it to me,
Yeah.
right? Like, this is somebody who perhaps enjoyed Fourth Wing or enjoys romantasy and feels somehow
Slighted.
tricked,
Yeah.
yes, by the surprise special edition limited collector's item that is actually something they already own.
Yeah.
But like, that's the risk you take when you sign up to buy something, not knowing exactly what it's going to be.
Can we also,
Like,
yeah, there was a
it's
choice
it's like a
involved.
grab bag, you know?
You didn't have to buy it. Like,
Right?
no one
You took that risk when you paid for it.
No one forced you to purchase it and pre-order it.
You know what? You know what we're doing? You know what? We're doing lawyer stuff. This is all caveat emptor.
I know. I know. We think about things too much. But on the other hand, okay, so I've also seen people saying that some of these books are, put out too quickly and thus they are not good. And for that, I just want to throw all of that out the window.
Yes.
That whole argument is ridiculous.
Yes.
Indie authors can publish a book a month or more. We've represented people who've published multiple books a month.
Yeah.
And
yeah, we do.
And they're good. They're not bad books. They're edited. They
sell, they get great reviews, and there is a market for them. You may not be in that audience, but that market exists.
And that doesn't mean that they're bad simply because they're fast.
Right.
And that's what really bothers me, because it's like taking an entire market of readers and saying, you're not good enough for us, because we require our books to be going through this lengthy process of, all of these editors and this approval process and this cog of a system.
New York Times bestseller intellectual elitism, if ever I've heard it.
Yes, I think
I've heard it.
That's what really bothers me, is the pretentiousness that it just smacks me in the face with.
Yes. That unless it takes you months and months and months to pour over a manuscript and even produce a first draft, and then your editor needs a year to rip it apart, and your publisher needs another 6 months to properly package it up, distribute it, and market it for you, it's not an actual, real good book. It's bullshit.
Ridiculous.
Yes.
And I mean, I've seen a lot of comments. I mean, we'll talk about Fourth Wing and Iron Flame simply because those are often brought up here, right?
Yes.
I have read them both. I have enjoyed them both. I really liked them. And I'm not a fantasy reader. That's not my go-to. We've discussed this before. But you know what? They were fun books. Were they high craft books? No. Were they written as high craft books? No.
Also no.
Right. Like this is not a Brandon Sanderson world we're talking about here. If you want that, go read that.
Listen to you.
I mean, for real though.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
You know what other bad books? I'm using quotations if you're not on the tube of
Yeah. She's being facetious.
Yeah, like 50 Shades of Grey. That's a bad book.
Horrible.
Terrible.
Horrible.
Guess what? It started a wave of reading for a generation that had not had that before. I'm now on my high horse. So bad
they made it into major motion pictures. That's how terrible it was.
It was that bad. Mm-hmm. I mean, and we wouldn't be here but for E.L. James and 50 Shades of Grey.
For sure.
So I have a lot of appreciation for those quote unquote bad books.
Absolutely.
I also read them a million times.
I'll take it a step further. I feel the same way about the Twilight series, which loosely inspired the fan fiction that eventually became 50 Shades of Grey.
100%.
And 100% not my kind of book, but I own them. I've read them multiple times. They're good for what they are. They might be socially problematic now in retrospect, but
at the time,
good books.
Good books.
Sorry.
They were entertainment.
Yes.
Then, I know people I actually saw somebody was talking about on TikTok how, like, they don't like it when people say, like, oh, well, it was no literary masterpiece. Like, well, that's not what I'm saying. It has to be at least a good book. To you, it has to be a good book. To me, or to other readers, it doesn't have to be this, like, good book. It can just be straight up entertainment, which is what they are. I mean, they're straight up entertainment. Do you
Some
have
people
any?
will find anything they can to condescend to others about. Like, it's just basic snobbery is what it is.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
elitism.
you know how many like palate cleansers is what I call them, mind
I
eraser books,
love a pal. Oh God, I call them catnip.
catnip.
Catnip. Like,
Yeah,
you just need the sheer joy, the fun of it,
yep.
right? Like, it does not, like, you're not looking for, and they
Lit-
make so much money.
like literally
Like,
any. I'm going to throw out names. Literally any Jenica Snow book ever. I love them. Okay, I love them. They are catnip. They are mind
yes,
erasers. I am not
yes.
thinking when I am reading that book. I
You're
am
just
in
having fun and experiencing the
straight
joy
up
of reading.
enjoyment. Yeah,
Yep.
straight up enjoying it. If I want a book where I have to like have some thought in my brain to figure out what's going on,
Yeah.
I will choose a book that requires that.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that doesn't make those books bad. It makes them
No.
what they are.
Yep.
And she's not claiming to use Jenica, right? And I love you, Jenica, right? She's not claiming to be the next, literary masterpiece here. She's not hiding the type of books that she
Well, okay, but
writes.
like,
There's nothing
this
wrong with
begs
it.
an argument about literary masterpieces too,
Yeah,
right?
what is
Like,
that? Where's the
so
definition?
I mean, that's my question, right? Like, do you need to be a Bronte sister or Jack Kerouac in order to be considered a legitimately good author? Get out
Right.
of here with that nonsense.
Like, we can discuss, okay, what is actual garbage? We've all read actual garbage, and that's usually when there's massive plot holes, massive
Mhm.
editing
Right.
look, I can't even say it. Editing errors.
Or just a complete lack of editing, which does happen quite frequently.
It does. When you're reading the book and you don't know what's going on, you're taken out of the moment so
Mhm.
frequently because of the continuity is
Yes.
terrible.
Or the writing style, it alternates points of view, or there are voice issues, like
Right. Tense issues.
yeah.
We've all read hot garbage.
Yeah.
That objectively is hot garbage
Yeah.
and should, take a few passes through an editor before it gets out there, right? But
Mhm.
that's not what we're talking about. We're now coming down to a nuance of like, if all other things are the same, if editing is the same and plot and continuity, now we're talking about content. That we just
Yeah.
don't like the content of the book, and that therefore, and it's done quickly, and so therefore it's trash. No. I mean, I saw one video that brought up the Venn diagram of like, that like the old saying of you can have two of these where it's either cheap, good, and fast.
Yeah. Pick two.
Pick two. I mean, isn't that how you can have it fast and good, but not cheap? Well, in indie author land, that's not really true, is it?
No.
You can
No.
have it fast
But
and good and cheap.
thousands of authors out there underselling their product because the market
Right.
demands it. These
Like this
people have
is
written books that are worth $10 a piece, $12 a piece, $20 a piece, and they're selling them for $5
or less.
because Amazon doesn't make it possible to do it any differently.
Right.
It's just the way it is.
Like when we're talking about Romance Landia, I don't think that Venn diagram is valid.
No,
I
it's
don't
not
think it's
applicable.
valid
No.
because yeah,
We currently have, and in the past have had, some very prolific clients whose books they're just good.
they're good.
Period. Like, they're fun, or they give you the experience you're expecting from them. They're dark and thrilling, or they're super sexy and steamy, whatever the case may be. You just cannot.
You can't judge it in the same way that you judge other
Yeah.
markets.
Yeah.
You can't. This is a completely different industry.
Well, and it
then
demonstrates how out of touch you are with publishing generally. Like maybe you have your finger on the pulse of traditional publishing, right? Like, okay,
right,
fine.
which is a whole different
But
world.
I mean, what percentage of the market is even traditional books at this point?
I think it's like 1% or something really,
Great.
it's really low.
So you got,
It's low.
let's just say 10% or less,
Sure.
like let's give a bunch of credit here. So you've got a really great understanding of 10% of the market, and you're showing your ass demonstrating how little you know about the other 90% of the market.
Right.
Period.
It's really, and it infuriates me because once again, it is downgrading indie authors who put a lot
Mm-hmm.
of time and effort and energy into their craft and into their
Yes.
brand. And now we're once again saying, even if, not outwardly, but we're inferring that they're not real authors because they didn't go through this long and
Right.
arduous obstacle course
Right.
that is known as traditional publishing.
Nobody's winning any sort of literary prize for their work in indie publishing.
Right. And I mean, and talking about traditional publishing and, Red Tower Books with what they're trying to do
Mm-hmm.
and what they're trying to give people what they want. And was it a cash grab? Of course it was a cash grab. We live in America, which is capitalism. Number 101. Of course it was. Of course it was.
Oh God. Okay.
I mean,
do I invoke her? Do I even go there? Like our queen puts out how many versions of every album she releases?
right. I mean, let's talk about Taylor again. I mean, Taylor Swift, she gets at least one shout out every episode, right? At least one.
This is books and also a Taylor Swift podcast. Let's just accept it now.
It really is.
But seriously, like that is a legitimate marketing model in our society today. It is because it works, because people respond to it.
People love it.
I personally am not going out to Target to buy 17 different vinyl versions of one album. I'm just going to stream what's available to me on the streaming service of my choice because I'm a simple gal on a budget.
Yep.
But
people do
want to buy the trade paperback and the special edition hardcover and the grab bag surprise thing from the publisher that you don't know what it is before you get it, but it could also just be another version of the book you already own.
Yeah.
Great. Spend your money the way you see fit.
It's your money.
Collect the books the way you want to collect them. To each his or her own.
Exactly. Do what you want.
Yes.
They're just providing another opportunity. Nobody is forcing you to participate in this game called capitalism.
Exactly. You can still enjoy the books
and
support the author at the level at which you're comfortable. You don't have to buy a book. You can go to your library and ask them to get it.
Exactly.
Like, I'm sorry. Like, there is a way to do this without spending a dime.
Correct.
And you can still support the authors you enjoy. And, well, yeah. Okay.
Sure.
Delayed gratification. But
it's there's
no money exchanged on your part. And you still got the benefit of supporting the author and the experience of reading the books.
Yeah. Exactly. It's...
I know.
We're sighing a lot.
Our biscuits have been so burned by this article.
It's just really, it's just really obnoxious. I mean, because I think a lot of people conflate the indie publishing world with the traditional publishing world and forget that like indie even exists.
Yeah.
And also forget that publishing has been doing this type of stuff forever. Sure. Like, this is not the first fandom that they have attempted to capitalize on. I mean, come on now. Come on now. And even still, I mean, the traditional publishing world is always trying to play a game of catch up. They're always trying to make fetch happen. So, I mean, for example, they're constantly trying to gobble up popular indie author series that have done well because they think there's money to be made there.
Sure.
Do you think that they're just reaching out to them because like they liked their book or liked their cover? No, because there's money to be made there.
And also they want to corner the market on what is clearly competition for them.
Correct.
what could be more profitable than making some of your top competitors your own portfolio of business?
Right. And so then they're going to recover those books
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to distribute them on a wider basis than what the indie author originally had,
Mm-hmm.
when they did it originally,
Maybe, depending on the indie.
depending. But usually that's what's going to
Yeah.
happen. And they're going to rake up the proceeds for what? For just providing a slightly larger audience? That's
Yep.
that's what they're doing. And the indie
More efficient
author,
distribution.
right. And the indie author is excited because their books are now getting on a, larger distribution list,
Sure.
likely are going to be in print in stores that
Mm-hmm.
they don't have to manage, because if you're an indie author, managing that is a bitch.
Yes.
It can be done.
Yes, it is.
It can be done, but it's a bitch. So
Yes.
having a traditional publisher step in and say, "Oh, we'll take care of that for you,"
Mm-hmm.
it's a win for them because they've certainly already had some success with the series, because
Absolutely.
that's the reason that the traditional publisher wants them,
Yep.
because they've had success with the series. I mean, come on. Traditional publishers are constantly looking for cash grabs. This is what they do.
Absolutely.
They're corporations. So now we're, I don't know, just noticing. I don't understand. Like, what has there been other messy executions in the past? Of course there has. This is just the most recent iteration.
Yeah.
And it sounded to me like it was a printer issue that they are trying to rectify. I mean, like, I've seen statements from, Red Tower and things like that they're trying to rectify it. So if you did get a misprint, there's supposed to be processes put in place where you can resolve that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, so good. I mean, that should be happening, right? But yeah, it's just not surprising to me. There's no
Like,
shock
I
and awe
think
here.
I think back to the late 90s through the late aughts, early 2010s, and everything that happened at brick and mortar bookstores during the Harry Potter craze. Like, was
Yeah,
this person not alive
right?
or awake and paying attention to any of that?
Apparently not.
Like,
The midnight parties,
right.
yeah,
Like, nothing Red Tower has done to sensationalize Rebecca's books and market them quite smartly, in my opinion,
and
is
effectively.
is new.
Yeah,
None of it.
none
It's
of it's new.
just updated for the way we have incorporated technology and certain tips and alterations. I
Right.
mean, it's just
They've
old
modernized it.
marketing, modernized and refreshed for today and for this
Right.
particular genre and the people who read it.
Yeah. And so when we say, like, oh, fast fashion, that, once again, I just bring it back. That's the content. That brings it back to the content, right?
Uh-huh.
Because
Yeah.
if we're talking about, like, Shein is given as the example, right?
Right. Right.
Shein is for those that don't know, who've been living under a rock, Shein is a fast fashion merchandiser, manufacturer that is located in Asia. They have multiple manufacturing places, so I don't want to, like, pigeonhole it to one particular place, but they produce items very quickly and they're not super high quality, but they are very cheap. And, you get the item and I don't order from them, but I've seen a bunch of TikToks. They smell like plastic for, a while, even after you've taken it out of the plastic. But, most items, not all items, some items, whatever. But they're giving it's trends. And it
Yeah.
reminds me of Forever 21, right? Like, this is all trendy
Also arguably kind of a
clothes.
fast fashion outlet.
Correct. There's a place in the market for fast fashion. There always has been a place in the market for
Sure.
fast fashion. It's just moved online. You're no longer going to the mall to go and get it.
Right. But the idea is that it's cheap, low quality. You're going to wear it once or twice before it's ruined, and then you're going to throw it in the garbage and it's going to sit in a landfill forever.
Right. Is that the same for books? I
No.
don't really think so. No.
No.
It's not the same. Well, these are not one, they're not really cheap. Okay. We're discussing price
Let's
point.
start there.
Let's start there. These things are not cheap. I happened to get both books for like $16 total simply because I had credits on my Amazon account and, you know, I happened to get it at good price points. So go me. But I believe it was originally listed at like $32 for the special edition. That's not cheap. Okay. That's normal.
For a special edition, actually, it's a pretty good price if you ask me.
Right,
but
for a special edition, but for a regular hardback book, that's pretty common.
Yeah, it is.
That's the price of them. So, there's that. And, content-wise, then we go to, quality, right? And now we're talking about quality of the packaging. Okay, well we've already discussed that. We can go on and on about that forever. They're trying to rectify that. But now our quality of content is really what people are talking about. And that's a subjective opinion. That's just a subjective opinion. People are saying, oh, she wrote the second one too fast. I don't know, whatever. You didn't like it. If you didn't like it, you didn't like it. That's your opinion. That's a valid opinion. That's yours. Yeah. Just like somebody else's who enjoyed it. And that's a valid opinion and that's theirs. And I heard there was one person saying, and I thought it was good. Mercedes on Booktok. That's her. I don't know her handle, but that's what she goes by. She was saying that she feels that a lot of people didn't like necessarily book 2. Those people that didn't like it, that book 2 was more fantasy driven. That had a lot of world building in book 2, that there was a lot of more like technical things in book 2, whereas book 1 was it was lighter on the world building elements, which got criticized for lighter on the world building elements. And then book 2 came out. So if it's a romantasy genre, right? So it's a mishmash,
it's fantasy and romance.
Of fantasy and romance. Yeah. So yeah, if you were more into the romance, you might not have enjoyed book 2 as much as you enjoyed book 1. If you're more into the fantasy, you might have enjoyed book 2 more than you enjoyed book 1. You know what I mean? Like, so,
yeah.
But for somebody like me who doesn't really read fantasy, I really enjoy reading romance more. Yeah, I could see how book 2 was maybe a little slow, quote unquote, in the beginning, because there was a lot of, world stuff happening. Which I don't think you've read book 2 yet, so I don't want to give plots away here.
Thank you for no spoilers.
No spoilers here. But so I think that's my point is it's all about perspective. It's all about what you are coming into the books with your background, history, knowledge, what you're expecting. We talk about expectations a lot when we're talking about authors and marketing. And this is one of those things. What are you expecting to read? And so if you go into this book and you're expecting to read some really intense fantasy world, you're going to be disappointed. It's not that. Right. That's not what this is. And if that's what you're used to and that's what you crave and that's what you love, then you're not going to like it. Move on. Don't shit on other people who happen to like craft books.
I think everyone involved in that article could be best served by learning and adopting the philosophy of not yucking someone else's yum, because it might not be for you, but it's very clearly for a lot of people.
And I think that's also, there's a part of it that it's like, people don't want to jump on a cliche, right? Like people want to separate themselves and not be part of a, bandwagon. Oh, well, I'm different. It's sort of pick me energy, right?
With an indie record much cooler than mine.
Yeah. I'm not saying all people.
I cannot help myself at this point. It's a compulsion. Yeah, right. Not all people, but there are some people who want to dodge the stigma of being on the bandwagon or being trendy and want to be independent or unique or to set themselves apart in some way. That's fine.
That's fine.
It's totally fine.
You do you.
Don't have to yuck someone else's yum to be the cool underground, like indie trendsetter, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I used to honestly, I did put off reading Twilight for
Mm-hmm.
years because
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, oh, it's so stupid. Like all the kids like it. It's so cliche. It's so dumb. Like, whatever. And I was one of those people. Having not read any of those books, I was making judgments upon them based upon the fandom. Okay.
Right.
And then one evening the movies were on and I just so happened to like turn it on. I
Yeah.
don't even remember which. It was on one of the first one at some point in the movie. I didn't start it at the beginning. And I watched it for like 10 minutes and was suddenly like, oh, now I'm hooked. Like now I need to know what happens. And these were the movies, which were arguably not even close to as good as the
The
books.
first
And
one, especially.
yeah, but they caught my attention. I
Yeah.
just happened to, I guess, be in a mood in that
Mm-hmm.
evening. And so I watched then the rest of the movies and then I bought the books and then I read the books multiple times. And you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it caught me in a different way. So don't shit on it. I used to shit on it. So what? I know it's not amazing. I know it's not the greatest writing ever out there. Obviously. Like I've done my time reading those books. Like I've done
Mm-hmm.
my time reading the classics, okay? I've read the
Well, what makes, but see, that again goes back to the
I
idea
know.
of what makes something, like, what is a classic by definition?
Well, I
It's
just
a
mean
group of
like
people with letters after their name who decided that
yeah.
they're smarter than everyone else and more important than everyone else, and they get to hand out awards to people for doing a better job than the average person.
Well, I'll tell you what I mean by reading the classics. I've done by reading, you know, The Great Gatsby and all of F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Yeah,
Honestly,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've read more than I probably should have of F. Scott Fitzgerald than I was ever assigned to. Same with J.D. Salinger and all of the Warren, the Tale of Two
Tolstoy.
Cities and
Oh yeah, yeah,
Tolstoy
yeah.
and Great Expectations with Charles Dickens and books with allegories in it and books that you're supposed to interpret and think about and have whole essays on after the fact. I've done my
The
educational
classic. Do you,
literary
do you know what's the classic?
education.
Lady Chatterley's Lover. That book is
Yes.
filthy,
Yes, it
written
is a
by a
classic.
man, and considered a classic.
Correct.
No, like just leave romantasy alone.
Just
If
leave it
Lady
alone.
Chatterley's Lover is a classic,
Correct. Yeah.
there is room in this world for people to enjoy whatever they want.
But yeah, you don't need to have a book with a ton of symbolism in it.
Uh-huh.
We don't need to think that deeply. Okay?
Yeah.
That's not I don't want to think that deeply sometimes. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'm like, "Ooh, I really want a book that has a lot of substance and meaning and deep thought into it." That has happened. 90% of the time though.
You're
When
describing my Ayn Rand phase.
yeah. 90% of the time I do not want that.
Right.
I want to check out. Like when I don't know, when you're watching a movie and you just want to throw on a fun rom-com or
Sure.
something that doesn't require a lot of thought.
Yep.
Like it's okay. That's why we have different genres of books.
That's right.
That's why there's fiction and
Well,
nonfiction.
and
That's
those kinds of books and films and shows exist in every genre.
correct. Why
Like,
are we shitting on it in romance?
you know why?
I know. I know why.
Because everything that women
Like is, yes. Heaven forbid.
automatically gets a strike against it just because it's
Heaven forbid women like anything. I mean,
the Barbie
truly.
movie,
Yes. Heaven forbid.
the Eras Tour,
I mean, it's the same. It's
romance
the
novels.
same thing. It's the same thing with the Eras Tour. People, making fun of these women who are going to the tour and screaming and so excited. And they're like, oh my God, they're so unhinged. And I'm just like, massive side eye. Have you literally never watched a man watch a football game ever or a hockey game? Any insert sports here. I mean, truly. What? It's just when women like things, we get judged.
That's right. We're just not allowed to like things.
Yeah, we're not allowed to like things. So
I'm just supposed to. Never mind.
it's this whole thing.
I'll save my invisible labor speech for another podcast.
Yeah, we can go down that road. But yeah.
But seriously, it's delegitimized because women respond to it, and it's automatically harder. Well, and then there are layers of racism built in too, right?
Correct.
Like if the
Yes.
author was an author of color, this would be an even bigger suppression and an even bigger issue with trying to delegitimize it.
And I think that that's why I also get frustrated when there are women out there making these very loud opinions, trying to delegitimize. I can't speak today. I need more coffee.
Doing takedown pieces.
Yeah, doing takedown pieces of not just, I'm not talking about Fourth Wing Iron Flame. Like if you have literal critiques, go forth with your literal critiques. That's your opinion.
Yeah.
But like just doing hit pieces for no other reason than to do a hit piece without considering this other, angle to it where why can't we just let people like certain books? Now, granted, if there's legitimate criticism, I have to put this caveat in there because some people are going to come at me and be like, well, Heather, no, I understand. There are legitimate reasons why certain books may have some real problems, okay? We just talked about a series not too long ago.
Oh, for sure.
That had some real problems. That's not what we're talking about here. If there are none of those pieces, right? There's no problematic piece to the work. Just let people enjoy it for what it is. It doesn't need to be this, high quality thing, because then when you shit on it, it makes it opens the door for people outside of our industry to shit upon it as well. And that
happens enough as it is.
Yeah, once again, we have articles that, the Romance Landia is once again unhinged, and these aren't real books, and you're not real authors, and around and around
just a bunch
and
of
around
crazy horny ladies.
Yeah. And we will never be considered legitimate in the eyes of society if we constantly are, telling each other that you're not writing real books unless you're doing X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my high horse. Like a bad book.
It's a good soapbox. I for the life of me, I cannot understand needing to act like you are better than people who are enjoying something you don't enjoy.
Correct.
No one's being hurt here. We're talking about, consenting adults and probably consenting old adolescents, right? Who are clamoring for this particular book from this particular author, from this particular publisher. And like, if you've got a problem with the marketing, don't buy it.
Yeah, don't
buy it. If you have a problem with the book, don't read any more of them. Leave an honest review of the things that you legitimately find wrong.
And if there are
move on with your life.
If there are problematic pieces, surely talk about them. Absolutely. Yes. We can criticize things without, in a way that is respectful and civil, and that brings actual discussion to the table. And that's something valid to talk about. But just saying that the book is crap because it's written
too fast and marketed in this particularly, to me, cringy, cash grabby way. Well, duh, that's what marketing is.
That's what it is. That's what we do.
Welcome to our capitalist society.
Yeah, that's what we get paid to do. Yeah. Like us, particularly. So,
yeah. Exactly.
It's wild. But anyway, so frustrating. Booktok is not turning publishing into fast fashion. It's not. And there's nothing wrong with writing books quickly as long as you're doing them well.
Authors have been doing it for
years.
Like some authors, historically, like back when everything was print, had multiple pen names, or they ghost wrote in addition to their own their own particular brand. And like,
I mean, look at what
some people are
James,
just prolific. They're capable of writing a lot fast. They
even,
shouldn't be penalized for that.
yeah, even before James Patterson started down his world of ghostwriting, he had books like constantly out. Constantly. I did not see this criticism
I
of
know.
James Patterson
Yeah.
when he
Of
was
John
releasing a
Grisham.
freaking book a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What's the difference? Oh, well, and we all know the difference. So,
Yeah.
anyway,
Yep.
back on the soapbox. Marketing tip of the week. We did not discuss this prior.
You got one?
Let me think about it for a second. I mean, we can reiterate some of our marketing tips for here. I mean, I will say
Don't piss off journalists.
Don't piss off journalists. Yeah, I think a marketing tip for anybody, because any author who wants the level of success that Rebecca has gotten, right, from this is a breakout book, 100%.
For sure.
Whether you hate it, you love it, whatever, it's a breakout book for her. It's done insane things to her to her life and her career and her success.
Absolutely.
I think a marketing tip for that, something to understand, is that people are not going to like it, right? And you have to expect that. If you want that level of success, you have to understand that you're not going to be, it's not going to be all rainbows and butterflies, right?
Some people will come for you because how dare you get out of your lane?
Correct. People are going to come for you no matter what. You are going to have to grow a thick skin. You are going to, she posted on Facebook the other day that she has had people ambush her in the airport with, like, when she's coming out of an airport lounge with like 20 books to sign because they're resellers and they want to sign. She had another person also ambush her in an airport as she's waiting at baggage claim with the same thing. She had somebody ship books to her home, found her personal address, and shipped books to her home and asked her to sign them and mail them back to her, so that, to the reseller, so that they could then sell the books online signed. Just wild things are going to happen to you. Creepy things. People creepy. That's creepy, okay? That's stalkery behavior. That,
some of y'all need therapy.
Yeah,
like holy boundary violations, Batman.
Exactly. So you have to be prepared that things could get out of control like that. And I'm sure E.L. James has experienced similar things.
Oh, I have no doubt.
So, and then people get, all upset that these authors become popular and they become really insulated and they tighten down their circles and they're not as willing to go. This is why, okay?
Because some of y'all are out here pushing buttons and they can't take it anymore.
This is why. So my marketing tip of the week for authors is, if you do have something like this, get a good team around you immediately. If you don't already have one, start protecting yourself immediately and your family and all of your private information. And for readers and those otherwise in the community, don't do that. Don't put them in a position where they have to further insulate themselves. I mean, don't do it. Don't do it. They're people. They were people before. They'll be people after.
Yeah.
And we want them to keep
don't
writing.
Create bitter recluses out of artists who give you art that you enjoy.
Correct.
Please.
I know. People be crazy. Crazy. So
readers and booksellers behaving badly.
Indeed.
Oh, we could do a whole episode on that.
And maybe that'll be next one.
Ooh, I like it.
I like it too. All right. Until next time.